Well, I call to order the special meeting of the Aransas Pass City Council, and we will take it to City Manager, Gary.
Mr. Mayor and council members, we're going to request that items 2.1 and 2.2 be tabled until the September 3rd meeting, if you as council members agree. There's more work to do on this and would like to consider it at that time and not at this time.
Okay, sounds good.
We have a motion.
I make a motion that we table item number 2.1 and 2.2.
I second.
Favor the council?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Aye, aye.
Aye,
That hurt right there.
All right, that's weird. Okay. I'm glad that's all we have to do on this one. Okay, now we'll take it to the discussion items, and Robert Sassi won't be with us this evening.
That's correct.
Okay, so we go to Mr. Don Ward with the rejuvenation pavement.
Correct. Fernando, did you want to introduce?
Good evening, council. We had Don here tonight to give a little presentation of the pavement rejuvenation process. This is something we're looking at with our bond money to rejuvenate some of our roads and make our buck go a little bit further. So I brought him in so he can give you an explanation and a presentation of how the process works and what the end result is, so that y'all can know what we're looking at.
Does he bring in the mountains?
Yeah.
Those are
Man, you're-
nice. Can we have some of those?
Man, you're good.
And I've got some information, I think some of the information here I'll explain a little bit further, but everybody can have one of these and city manager.
Thank you very much.
And this is a report that we have previously done for the city.
Okay.
Give you a copy of that, so you'll have that also.
Okay.
And please, anytime you wanna cut me off, I am a pavement maintenance geek, so if you get to the point where
Pavement
you cut it
maintenance
up.
geek.
Can you give one to the city secretary if you have an extra one?
Thank you.
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak with you guys tonight. First, a little bit about myself. I was a former director of road maintenance, and don't throw rocks at me, Travis County in Austin, keep it weird, for a long time. And,
Fit in with us.
and actually was this company's first customer back in 2005, 2006. So I'm very familiar with this product and what I'm gonna talk about. But really what I wanna stress here, this is, I don't want it to be a sales, I want it to be about pavement preservation. That's what I'm trying to tell mostly, and why people should do that, and what's important about pavement preservation and the costs involved and that sort of thing. So, and at any point you got a question, it's very informal, so just please, raise your hand, holler at me, whatever. But the information in that folder, on the right-hand side, the first article, it's kind of my testimonial from when I started the program at Travis County. That's a little bit about Travis County's program, and a couple of other articles that I was involved with from Pavement Preservation Magazine. On the left-hand side is the product information called Reclamite. We'll get into that a little bit further. So we'll just go on to the presentation. So again, what I'm trying to do is get information about pavement preservation for roadways. And, oh, that was quick. Everybody's expected pavement condition is this. And don't always see that. You see this one up in Montana, looks really great. This is the situation that you want to try and avoid. And I am very familiar with that because that is 4 blocks from my house. That actually road that looks like it's got spider web in it is in Williamson County, not in Travis County. The road just south of it where you don't see a lot is Travis County. That's where the program was started. Another condition called alligator cracking. This is what you don't want to see. Water gets down into your base material, your roadway goes to heck in a handbasket, and it costs a lot of money to repair. So if you can keep it from going to that condition, that's where you want to save yourself. Why pavement preservation? Okay, so cost effective. It's greener, takes less time, and you'll get the longest out of your roadway. taxpayer dollar. That's what I tell everybody. Even though I don't work for Travis County and I've worked for City of Georgetown as their city engineer, City of Leander, City of Austin, I still feel I'm a taxpayer advocate. This is a great way to save your taxpayer dollars. Greenhouse gas emissions, you hear about a lot about that these days, and actually there's a lot of greenhouse gas emissions that come from a paving project. You don't really know it, but if you go out to a brand new paved road, you're gonna smell it. Less energy, also, it takes a whole lot less energy to just put emulsion on than you're cooking that pavement, putting it down. And it's much faster and really a lot easier on your citizens. We try and keep it to where we do half a road at a time, we don't cut anybody off, so you still have the traveling public. The objectives of a pavement preservation program is really prevent the oxidation of that pavement surface and the pavement structure. So you don't want it to age, you wanna stop it or delay it. Viscosity, a decrease in the viscosity means that flexible pavement is gonna be flexible. It's not gonna get brittle, cracking, so you wanna reduce that viscosity in that pavement structure. Again, increasing the flexibility, prevent the formulation of cracks in that surface. Cracks leads to death of a pavement. Basically, the cracks open up, you get water down, boom, you get the alligator cracking, then you're spending lots of money. Prevent the loss of fines and raveling. You don't really see that in this area. That's kind of a northern area where you have the freeze thaw effect, you lose the rock in your surface. Not a whole lot of that around here. That road you see there, again, the spider webbing, that's 6 blocks from my house, Williamson County. And I'm not bad on Williamson County, but they just didn't do this. The middle block here, pavement preventative maintenance, that's what folks are kind of missing in their whole program. They do the cracks in and patching, the overlays, that sort of thing, but the middle block is what most folks are missing. Now, what I tell everybody, you wanna stay ahead of your pavement maintenance curve. This is your typical curve, and this is from Pavement Preservation and Recycling Alliance. So what happens here is in the first 15 years, and most engineers are gonna say, oh, we'll build you a 20-year road life. The first 15 years of that 20 years, it's gonna degrade 40%. So you're gonna go from a 100 PCI, which is a condition index, down to a 60. 60 is still a good PCI for a roadway, but look what happens in the last 5 years. You're gonna drop down 40%. So your roadway in that 20 years is gonna go from 100 down to 20 or less. So that's what they're saying. Basically, in 20 years, you're gonna have to rebuild that entire road. So what I try and tell folks is one of the things you really need to do is you need to assess your pavement, and you do that by a study. You know, some folks, it's very expensive. You can do windshield surveys, you can do digital imaging, all sorts of things, but very important to have a study. That's part of that paperwork that you got, that report, it assessed your entire system. Development of a pavement preservation program, whether you do total recycling, whether you do overlays, whether you do chip seal, you need to develop some sort of program to preserve your pavement. And also, you may want to do some engineered improvements of your system. You have the roads that are always just totally falling apart. Get those done, do them right, with an expected life. Excuse me. And all these things are extending the value of your roadway system. That's your whole goal here. Again, save the taxpayer dollar, and you get that nice happy guy there, little piggy bank. I won't go into this detail, this is a little bit more, but this is what your typical hot mix roadway is made of, 94% sand aggregate, 6% liquid. These days, I think it's less, because you're allowed to put RAP in your mix. So what you're adding, instead of that 6% asphalt liquid, you're putting in RAP, which is recycled asphalt binder. When you see these guys come in the middle of the roadway, your hot mix plant is putting that old binder into your supposedly new hot mix. So you're getting a poor quality hot mix than you used to get 15 years ago. Components, this is what your typical hot mix is made of. So those are, your acidifins, your maltines, your asphaltines. Again, that's kind of a technical thing. Statistics of your roadway, and these are probably low these days. A new 2-lane rural roadway, $2 to $3 million a mile, that's your cost. If you had to go in virgin, build one, that's what you're gonna spend. 2-lane urban section, $3 to $5 million. You get into your freeways, you're 7 to 8 million, and if you get down to Austin and you ask what Mopac costs, I have no idea. It's a lot of money. So when you get to those kind of dollars, you're looking at, oh, what can we do to preserve our pavement? Pavement maintenance options. Everybody knows chip seals, and when I was at Travis County, people just loved when I chip sealed their road. They would call, why did you turn my paved road into a gravel road? I mean, it was just, I think chip seals are good because they seal your surface, they give you a new friction level, but people really do not like them. Microsurface, it's really pretty, it's fairly expensive, goes down black smooth, but when you're looking to do this, typically it will delaminate in 4 to 5 years. So if you're on a 4 to 5 year cycle of redoing it and you've got the money, great product. Overlays, that's when your road gets to where you've got to do some sort of big maintenance. You're looking at $8 to $12 per square yard for an overlay. Hot end plates recycling, basically it's a train comes along and recycles as they go down the road, another $12 to $15. And then you get into full reconstruction. But the rejuvenation seals, very inexpensive. Our product, $1.15 a square yard turnkey, that's traffic control the whole bit. So, again, I just talked about these costs, so, and like I said, they're probably low, depending on where you're at, the whole volume that you're doing, these are probably low. Then you get to the rejuvenation seals, $1 to $1.20 per square yard. And that's one of our trucks putting the product down. So your conventional life cycle costs, and I did this for a 25-year, this is what you would typically spend, total life cycle cost over 25 years, almost $2 million. And that's, doing the workforce, the mill overlay, that sort of thing. When you go to a rejuvenation, you're looking at $251,000 for a life cycle of 25 years. So you're saving that kind of money. That's your deferred cost. And that's, in my neighborhood, I know for a fact, I walk out there every day, my wife loves jogging on our roadway. So what you do is you basically just push this curve out every 5 years. That's my recommended time frame. So you just keep that PCI up there where these dots are. That's the whole purpose of it. Again, I talked about the pavement management. You want to do something like that. If you haven't done it, you get it done so you know where your conditions are. These are your two options, visual or digital imaging. Very expensive, but it's really cool technology. Kind of geek out on it. It's pretty cool. Again, this was article I told you about in your portfolio. The reason Travis County got involved in this, and it doesn't really go into detail, was back in 03, 04, state legislature cut county's budget. Their funding mechanism was basically sales tax and registration for vehicles. That went straight to the road and bridge fund. Well, they determined that the larger counties in Texas, their road systems were shrinking, except for Travis County and Bexar County. So they lobbied to have it changed where part of that funding would go to the general fund. Goes to the general fund, we never get it back. So I lost from 24 million, Travis County lost in their road and bridge fund from 24 million to 16 million in 5 years. Mandated condition, the commissioner's court said you have to keep your road in a 70 PCI or better. If you remember those graphs, that's pretty high. I thought, well, I'm gonna lose my job. And the guy who owns this company walked in my office one day and was telling me about this. I said, well, where can I go to see this product? Spent 2 weeks in Florida doing a ton of research on it. Found out, okay, so what we had was a 30% budget cut and the rising oil prices. So we started doing the digital imaging, find out where we were at. We had the mandated condition by the commissioner's court. So the first year we did, I want to say we did 28 to 30 miles, something like that. But these were the cuts that we had to do because of that. 90 miles to 50 miles of chip seal, 55 to 30 of overlays, and 15 to 5 miles of reconstruction. So based on all the budget cuts and money we had left and this new product, we conducted some research trials, and then we said, okay, let's try the program. So we found success with it, and the first year, and I live just behind that curve. That's my street. After 11 years with the rejuvenation program, this is what the street looks like. That street right there is 27 years again, I'll go back to my adjacent county, we won't mention their name, Williamson. But that's what it looked like. Part of the thing that we do also after the fact is 6 weeks, to 8 weeks later, we'll come and core a section, take those cores, send it off for analysis. We leave one untreated, one treated, and we test for reduction of viscosity and increase in penetration for those. And I have yet to see one that's not 25% better than the minimum requirement in the specifications. So again, this is something I've already talked about, but one thing that was really cool after year 5 to year 10, and we were doing this digital imaging, the overall condition index for 1,300 miles of road for Travis County was a 71. In 2015, when we did our last, when I was there, we did our digital imaging, the overall PCI for the county was a 78. And if you remember that previous slide, all the reduction in maintenance efforts, we had almost a third across the county. The only thing we did different, we did this product. PCI of the entire system went up 7 points. That's pretty unusual. So you get the benefits. It's going to renew your hard and brittle surface. It's going to slow the aging oxidation rate. You're going to seal and densify that surface. Again, you're not going to really see much of that, but it will do that in colder temperatures. You're going to rejuvenate that binder, which is making it flexible again. Again, extending the service life for your taxpayers. Inexpensive versus other, which we talked about. Again, another article that's in there. That one I was invited to participate in. It's got some PhDs in there and some other guys. It's a generic article, but it talks, these PhDs talk about what the benefit of this Maltine Rejuvenator is. Again, that's our turnkey product. I'm not going to get into a sales pitch here, but we do all those things. Basically, we come in, the city doesn't have to do anything. No phone calls. We hand out a neighborhood notice, so if they want to call and complain to somebody, they're going to call us. This is a pre-test. We want to make sure we get the right amount, so we'll come and actually, before we ever put it on the ground, we're going to get the right amount. That truck you saw was computerized. It's highly specialized. It's a $400,000 truck. So once you dial in the correct amount, that's where you go 5 miles an hour or 8 miles an hour, it's going to get it right. This is an example of our neighborhood notice. Spanish and English, we push that out, give it to the residents. They call us if they've got any question, concern. It explains the process for them. Again, these are the pictures of the cores, and won't talk too much about this again. I live at the very end of that street, and this was a neighboring street. So you're going to restore the asphalt components, the flexibility, seals the surface, and that's another thing you want to make sure you get that surface sealed. It will actually seal hairline cracks. It's great for that. If you've got something 1/4 inch or better, you probably want to do crack seal on it. So it's not going to really close up those huge cracks. And then your benefits. You're going to extend that life. Like I said, I think the prime cycle is about 5 years. So higher rate of return on investment, minimal disruption of traffic and residents, and then cost-effective proactive maintenance. And that's what you want to do. You want to start your pavement preservation program. And if you have striping, it's not going to affect your striping. You don't have to restripe it. It'll come back through in 2 to 3 days. It looks just like it was before. And then it frees up your resources for other things. And then you're back on your road to happiness.
Back on the road.
And there's a beautiful picture of Paybacker Bridge. A buddy of mine, his grandfather worked for TxDOT, so I think that's a beautiful bridge. If you've ever been to Austin, you need to drive. That's great view. So if you've got any questions, I'll be glad to answer. And if you want to see a video of the process, I got a real short one I can plug that into. It's up to you guys. I don't want to take up a lot of your time.
Well, I guess I have a question. I mean, does
Okay.
this technique go over paved roads,
Yes,
already
it's
paved roads?
Already paved roads. In fact, it's great for a lot of different types of surfaces. We have clients that put it on micropave. We have clients that put it on chip seal. When I was in Travis County, we started out on just typical hot mix pavement, anywhere from 2 inches to 6 inches.
See?
I'm done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's for paved roads. It's not for dirt roads, it's not for gravel roads, not for anything like that. But it's basically to help you extend the life of those paved roads. If you're doing it on a chip seal, it'll keep that rock down longer. Our clients in Odessa, actually in Travis County too, we're skipping a rotation now. Typically, you'll re-chip seal every 5 years or so. They're doing it every 10 to 12 years now. So you're actually making that chip seal last twice as long as it really would. Same with microsurface. You don't get that delamination that you see Lubbock, that's all they put it on. It's on microsurface, it's on hot mix. So it actually helps both of those. It will actually keep that hot mix pavement underneath the microsurface, rejuvenate, and keep the bond longer so it doesn't delaminate. You ever seen this stuff that kind of looks like it's striking after a few years? That's what that is.
So our roads, what do we have on this? What are we
You
looking
have
at?
mostly
Possibly.
hot mix roads, yeah. Most of your streets are, I mean, you do have some that, yeah, you know, in fact, I've got a map. I can show you this map real quick. I know I didn't prepare this real well, but this map will show you the different conditions of your street system. Blue being excellent, green, yellow, I can have two of them. I can put one of those in there. You guys can keep this map. So it's blue is your best, green, yellow. When you get down to orange, you really kind of, I would tell clients, don't do it, you're wasting your money. But if you look at your map, any of the yellow roads to green to blue, you don't have to do the blue ones right now, you got a little time. But the yellow ones, recommended to do.
We
and
have
the
like
green
4
ones.
blue.
Yeah, most cities don't have, you got more blue than a lot of cities, trust me.
What?
Yeah.
We have less
Okay.
roads though.
Yeah, we have less roads, so there you go.
I did a bunch of surveys up in the Panhandle this last few months. Oh, boy, lots of yellow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I did about 7 surveys up there for different cities, but lots of yellow.
So the green is what you're saying is
The green
the
and the
best
yellow.
for your process, is what you're
Green and
saying?
yellow. Yeah,
Green and yellow.
Green and yellow. You might
Oh,
want to start
well,
with the yellow first, because they're the lower rated. ones. They're the lower conditions, so, you know, but Port Lavaca is in their second year, they started with their green roads first, so it's everybody's choice. And they're doing most of their green roads, and then they're do their yellow roads after that. So they're in their second year. Galveston County, they're doing all of Bolivar Island, they got hit by Ike, I think, 11 or 12 years ago.
Or,
So they're, you know, it's really your choice. In fact, the thing that I do is, in that report, it's a Word document, and I'll send that to Fernando so he can pick and choose. He's got the information there, and he can put it together very simply.
We can keep these?
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
Johnson, that's my
Along with
lane.
those reports.
I live like right there.
Yeah.
So that's weird.
Yeah, thank you.
Toy.
Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate that.
Mhm.
Oh, I'll get my back bag in there. Once you order that.
Okay.
Is this yours here?
Yes, sir.
Pretty good system.
So if you got any other questions, I'd be glad, otherwise, we're typically gonna be starting Port Lavaca in the middle of September, and they're gonna finish up their funding that they have, for this year, and they're actually gonna start their project to jump into the new fiscal year, so we'll be close by, if that's something that is of interest to you guys. We'll be right up the road through the middle of October, latter part of October, and we could just jump down here and do real. I tell new clients that, you know, if you're, you know, wanna jump in and try something, our minimum is 30,000 square yards, which is about 2 miles. Typically not a whole lot of, you know, stress on that one. It's under your budget for, you know, pricing and contracting, I think advertising, so you're okay there. But typically, that's where folks like to start off with, something like that. And like I said, we're just right down the road, so, you know, we'd be glad. We've talked about trying some other areas where maybe some milling, where you have some reconstruction stuff, and trying some test sections on that as well.
And we discussed Lighthouse Lakes.
Mm.
FEMA gave us some money to do only about a 5-foot section, but taking that money and doing the entire section with this at Lighthouse Lakes might, be more beneficial. So we're discussing those options right now.
And we'll try some of that out to see if it works. You know, that's something you guys wanna do. Glad to do
update regarding San Patricio County and City of Aransas Pass struck off properties set for tax resale. Stephen Saucedo of Linebarger, Gorgon, and Blair and Sampson.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Steve is here, and he has information for you, I believe, and the goal here is to see if you want to dispose and get rid of certain properties. So Steve, if you don't mind coming forward and give the information to the council and talk about why we're here.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Thank you, council members. Thank you, everyone, for having me here tonight. Just give me a moment, and I'll pass out this information.
I can do it for you.
Before I get into actually going through that list, just as a little refresher on the way the law works, if properties remain unpaid, we will file a lawsuit on your behalf. And then eventually, if it remains unpaid, we will get a judgment and then sell that property on the courthouse steps. That would be eligible to do that on the first Tuesday of every month. By law, the minimum bid at that initial tax sale is set by law. What you have before you tonight is a tax resale property. So all those properties already went to sale initially the first time. That amount is set by law. Does not require your permission. It's on the tax resale. If it goes for sale for less than the minimum bid, that's when it would require your authorization. Usually the way this works in your area, and you've seen me here from time to time to present bids to you. Once things go to sell, the tax sale, nobody buys it. At that time, if nobody purchases it, it gets struck off to the county as trustee on behalf of all the taxing authorities who were involved in the initial lawsuit. At that time, once it's struck off to the county as trustee, anybody can come in and submit a bid. If that bid is for the amount of the original tax sale or higher, it's sold, doesn't require your permission. If that bid is less than what they would have bought it for at the initial tax sale, that's when you see me here before you. So everything you have before you tonight falls into that category. Historically speaking, in San Patricio County, about every 10 years or so, they have for lack of a better word, a tent sale where they extremely discount all the properties that have been struck off. Because over the years, some things get bid on and some just sit there and they collect. And I believe you have a list of about 25 properties in front of you that have, over the years, accumulated and no one has bid on. So historically speaking, what our firm does, and this is just through our experience, about every 10 years or so, the county will initiate a tax sale, and the starting bid for all those properties that hadn't sold traditionally has been set at 20%. So it's a tent sale, if you will. So if you look on your list, and the county hasn't set this. This is just for informational purposes. This is coming. They're going to request that we set it for sale. And so the properties you have before you, the suggested starting bid is, if we follow historically what we've done, would be 20% of the opening bid you see on your paper. So hypothetically speaking, if it went to sale for $10,000, nobody bought it, it was struck off, it's been sitting there for 8 years. Now it's going to go to sale for $2,000 starting. And if you approve. And so we don't need you to do any action tonight, but we want you to know that this is coming down the road, and that if you have any issues with starting at 20% for anything that's on here, we'd like to come to a figure that you would be happy with. But that traditionally is what's been done. The last time this type of tent sale was had was about 8 years ago, so it's been 8 years. If you want to look on the left-hand side where it says suit number, that shows the year the suit was initiated. And then another thing of interest about 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth column over says opening bid, and the one next to it is the adjudged value per the appraisal district. Of course, that can change while it's been struck off too. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention that, when a final date is actually set, and the county's list is substantially larger than your list, theirs is bound. And so when they pick a day when they want to have it, before that sale begins, I'll come back to you to get your approval to sell these at 20% of the opening bid that's on here. But we want to provide you with the list now, in case you had any questions, you wanted to review it. And then also, what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna leave the counties, the larger list here too as well. And you guys could get copies of that, 'cause there's a whole bunch of stuff on there.
So how is this, as far as this particular tent sale, is it just put out on the web and people just, or find out about it? I'm just kind of curious on how that happens.
Normally, by law, we advertise in the paper
Okay.
for those. Our intention is to advertise for this as well ahead of time. So we will be on the web, on our website. We will alert to all of our taxing authorities and the governing bodies of those taxing authorities. And then we'll advertise in the paper as well.
So if there's one, say, there's one particular property that we decide we don't want on the tent sale, can that be possible removed or not?
Well, what would happen, yes, it could be. If you don't
Okay.
want to go for that 20%, or perhaps you could suggest another number where
Okay.
that would apply to that one, we could alter that.
Okay.
And just adjust the opening bid for that.
Okay.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having
Okay,
me.
thank you.
I'll leave this list here.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Okay, next we go to the lien review committee, tax resale properties process.
Let me kick this off, and Mary, I'm going to ask you to jump in on this if you will, on the lien review committee. But staff has been looking at ways to review properties before they come to you, to make sure we know what they plan to do with the property, future plans for that property, to see if it's something that the city wants to get rid of or not. But we think it's fair to you to be able to review and talk with the people who are interested in the property before it comes to you. So you want to take it from there on what the goal is for this committee, Mary?
Well, just like you said, those offers that we get, like from Lime Barger, we thought it'd be a good idea to take those offers through the lien review committee to kind of review them to see if there's, we could do more investigative research on them before we bring them to council, such as, like in the last council meeting, we had one bidder who purchased 6 properties and has purchased other properties in the past, and just see, are they maintaining their properties, and that type of, research that we can do before we bring it to you for approval.
I'm
Yeah.
all for that vetting.
Good idea.
Find out what their intention is to.
Exactly, yeah, what they intend to do with the property, do they intend to build in a year or 2, or just really what their intentions are for the property.
We need to formalize that, of course, at a future meeting to have the council approve it officially. But just want to get your feeling right now,
I
and
think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Very good idea.
Who would
Okay.
be a member of that
Right.
committee?
have not decided yet.
Okay.
Probably all of you guys.
Well,
I'm joking.
Congratulations, Gary.
Yeah. Alrighty.
That's all we need on that.
Next, we go to the post-disaster recovery plan. Sarah Williams, EOC, San Pat County, and Tony Lamberth, Help Disaster Long-Term Recovery, Dr. Kayla Walk, Heart Institute.
Here you go. Yeah, there we are.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Sarah Williams. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for San Patricio County. I'm here with Tony Lambert of Help Disaster Management. Dr. Katya Wolk could not be with us tonight. She's with the Heart Research Institute. She's been working with us on recovery-related matters. And we also have Clara Reeder from the Health Department. She's our Public Health Preparedness Planner, or Manager. Sorry, Manager. Give her the right title. She'll pay me back for that later. I came into my position in November of 2017 and realized very quickly that we had a lot of work to do when it came to recovering from Harvey. And it became apparent early on that we were going to need someone, or even a group of someone, who could focus primarily on recovery-related matters. Thankfully, we had several people from within the different cities across the county, as well as my office at the county, come together and discuss what might it look like, what might we need in order to make sure that we were recovering well as we move forward. We were getting bombarded with, at that time, the public assistance process and the beginnings of the individual assistance process with FEMA. We were hearing about all these grant programs, that were coming. There was a lot of confusion about what they all were and how they would help us or whether they would help us, and it was just a lot of uncertainty. And thankfully, the county was given a generous donation, and we were able to employ Help Disaster Management, which is a 501c3 nonprofit group that has a lot of experience in working with post-disaster recovery in several different areas around the United States. So they were able to embed Tony with us, and he's been able to hire Mary DeMay as his assistant to work with him day to day. And they have set about the task over the last about year and a half of focusing on all these different programs and everything that are coming to our area. Tony went out and had a lot of conversations with folks and educated them on things like the hazard mitigation grant program that came out, and what was the process for that grant. He was in all the meetings and everything when we were dealing with the first block grant allocations, helping folks from the different cities and in the county understand what this meant, how this money was going to be used, how we could apply for it, the steps we needed to take in order to take advantage of it. Some cities and groups took a little bit more hand-holding, so it's almost good news if you didn't have Tony here with you every day, because it meant you were doing better than your neighbors. A lot of them have gotten to know him really well because he spent a lot of time with them. And so Dr. Katya Woke came and started to talk with us about how the Heart Research Institute could help. One of the initial things that everybody noticed early on was we don't have a lot of expertise in applying for all these grants. So she was actually instrumental in helping us put together the grant workshop that we had in Sinton at the fairgrounds last fall in November. We had 89 people come and learn how to seek grant funds, how to utilize them, what they were eligible for and what they weren't, and they were able to talk with a lot of the different funding sources about each of the different programs. And then now we're moving on and looking into our long-term recovery as we move farther away from Harvey. And our next big step is to start to develop what's called a post-disaster recovery plan. This is going to be our map, so to speak, of what is our path forward. We're going to identify what challenges we still have yet to overcome, and then we're going to talk about, with groups of people who have expertise in certain areas, about how we might overcome those. What is our plan on how to overcome them, and then to make sure that we don't end up having the same issues in the future if we have another event. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tony and let him kind of talk you through the rest of the information about the plan.
Thanks, Council, for again letting us be here. Hello, Lynn. Good to see you again. Gary. I appreciate you guys welcoming me. Help Disaster Management when we first got into town a year and a half ago. Good times back then, so we've come a little ways. So why are we here? As she said, we're drafting a disaster recovery plan. And in that plan, we're going to define remaining challenges that San Patricio County has and a desired path to overcome these challenges. We're going to put that in the plan. I'm a long-term recovery coordinator myself. I've been working with TAMU Corpus Christi We're incorporating the whole community planning process. So, you're probably wondering, okay, so what's the big deal about whole community planning? It means which residents, us, practitioners, organizational community leaders, government good officials can collectively understand and assess the needs of their respective communities, determine the best ways to organize and strengthen their assets. In other words, your community has to be heard. So we have to come up with a plan for the plan for the plan if you really want to know where we're going with this. So that's where we're headed. Post-disaster recovery plan, what it is, of course, designed to help you, communities, be a quick go-to, on-the-job training aid. You can go step by step what your recovery process is. And as Greg Fugate once said, we must incorporate the entire community, from everybody, from the social medias to the media to your general public to your populations. Everybody, we have to include everybody. Fully engage the societal capacity is how he worded it. All right, so everybody, hot question on topic here is, Tony, where we moved since you've been here? Okay. If you guys can recall, I can't get it to point on that TV. We were, when I got on the ground, we were a little bit to the left of that first hump. Well, in the middle of the two humps. Yeah, it was in the middle of the first two. And as you see now, this is where we're in and end up coming into the long-term housing, long-term, and infrastructure is the main focuses we're into now as we go into recovery. So that's a snapshot of where San Patricio County is from Harvey. So you say, okay, so what's the plan for the plan? Well, first and foremost, we're coming to the executive leadership of all the municipalities for your input. On the right-hand side, you see executive meetings and town hall meetings. The Red Stars are in process within the next week. You are the first round of input, and we will discuss. Sarah will give you the website, etc. Talk about the survey here in shortly. You're on the right side. We're going to get the executive view first, then we're going to go to the public. The public and the recovery support function groups, focus groups. As you see, we're going to focus on economic, community capacity building, housing, health and social services, infrastructure, natural cultural resources. So what are we doing with those? People within the community that have task experience within those categories, we want to talk to. How are we going to get them out in the community to talk to them? We're still working on that part of the plan. Katya and I are coming up with that as we speak. But we are going to bring economic to the table first, then infrastructure. Anybody involved with economic decisions within San Patricio County will be included in the invite for a meeting. And we're going to set a agenda, and TAMU will also run those meetings and collect that data. So is there any questions on how the planning foundation and the stakeholders are working together in this?
We're good.
What we need, we're going to be doing these over the next several weeks. Speak with your neighboring communities, talk about what we said, what your response was on the survey, what your opinions were. We need a completion of that survey, and this data will belong to TAMU, which will not be made public data until we put it in a plan. So, Sarah will go over talking about where that survey's at and participating in any facilitation to get the data gathering, such as Casper. I'm sorry, Claire. Claire's next before Sarah. Yeah. No, wait a minute.
No.
All right, you want to do Katya? All right.
Like I mentioned earlier, Dr. Wolf couldn't be here, but I don't think she could have been given a PhD unless she could do copious notes, which she sent me via email. What she wanted to reiterate is when it comes to the survey, the development of the survey was guided by research. She took some time to go and research, I can't even tell you how much. And she devised the questions of the survey based on a lot of the literature and common best practices from across the nation. She wanted to reiterate that all the responses are going to be kept confidential, and that this initial survey that we're going to share with the city officials is not just for the elected officials, but also for any of your department heads or any of the folks within your city who work for the city. If you can pass it along and ask for them to take a moment to fill it out as well. Because like Tony mentioned, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get an understanding of your perspective on what your community's needs are at this point and what your challenges are at this point, so that we can make sure that those are incorporated into the discussions with those focus groups. So what those focus groups, they're broken into what are called RSFs, which is recovery support functions. This is the way that FEMA breaks everything out in their recovery processes. This is the best practice, is dividing things up into these 6 groups. Any individual is welcome to apply to be part of that group. It's just a short little application where if there's somebody who has interest in a particular area, do we have them all? Here, I'll go back. So that's where, oops, those ones on the left. Anybody who has experience in that or has a particular interest in that, this is not much different than the boards that you guys have here in the city for the different things that you do. So they're open to apply and ask to be part of those focus groups and participate in those discussions and be a voice for their own community. And so we'll be trying to bring together people from all the different cities across the county and to take part in this, because we know that the needs here on the East End are going to be a little bit different than the needs over in Mathis and Odom and Sinton. So we want to make sure that we get as many folks involved as we can. So if you know anybody who might be interested or have that kind of expertise, please encourage them to participate. And their job is going to be to go through these different categories, and when they come together to meet about that particular subject matter, they're going to discuss, all those challenges, and they're going to brainstorm ideas for how we can fix some things and how we can move forward.
I have a question on
Yes, ma'am.
you said the survey, is that gonna be sent individually or just one to, for instance, the city?
Okay, we have an online survey. I think Katya may have already emailed it.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I guess Mr. Edwards will be able to pass that along so that you guys can, and to
So-
whomever it is that you needed to be able to fill that out.
So each one individually, like for instance, the
Yeah, as
council
an
members? Yeah.
individual.
Okay, okay.
And then so the importance in this, with these and gathering all of this information, I must get back forward, sorry, is that more and more of these big grants and everything that are coming are wanting us to look at things in a regional manner and not just small little pockets of population. So we are in and of ourselves with 12 cities across San Patricio County are in effect a region.
Mhm.
And so they want us to be able to plan and to work together across broader areas. And so being able to pull together this kind of information, not unlike when we went through, I know you guys are signed on with the Aransas County's hazard mitigation action plan, but we have
Yeah.
the rest of the cities within San Pat County, and then the county have a separate plan, but like you went through the same kind of process of having different groups of people come together, talk about what are your goals as a community, what kind of things would you like to accomplish. Similarly, the same thing with this. It gives us justification when we go out and ask for grant dollars for things, helps us, it also can help us to better understand those similarities and differences, and make sure that when we go out and request that, we come forward with a legitimate request that will be taken seriously. So, and then another way that we are gathering information is through Casper, and I'm gonna let Clara speak on that. That's something that's gonna be coming up understand. We will have acronyms for everything, just so you know.
As you can see, the CASPER, which is a community assessment of emergency, public health emergency response, typically it's will be a door-to-door. As you can see in this area, we have a couple clusters in the Aransas Pass area that will be going door-to-door to people's houses to get a random selection of surveys. These surveys will have questions on how do they feel after Hurricane Harvey? Do they know their emergency services? Do they know that they have emergency services? Do they need assistance with getting out? Did they leave? Did they not leave? What type of animals and what other type of assistance are going to be? The CDC is the one who comes up and designed this, so it has to be door to door. It has to be clustered, say group. So this, we'll be doing this in first 2 times in San Patricio County. First time is going to be, as we consider the east side of the county, which is Portland, Ingleside on the Bay, Ingleside, Aransas Pass, and Gregory. The other side, which will go on next year, so we can compare and contrast between what's this side need and what's that side need, or what the whole county needs altogether, will be done next year, probably about February. Much cooler time, but we got deadlines. So as you can see, we're going to have volunteers out in these areas. These volunteers will have a background check. We are planning to do it September 28th and 29th. Hopefully we can get done on the 28th if everything works out right. Because we have to get about approximately 7 surveys per cluster. As you can see, the clusters are the yellow areas with the numbers. And these were picked out by CDC and approved by them. I didn't select these clusters because I'm not sure very many people live in some of these areas, but it's what they chose for us. And so that will be done, but this data will be able to be shared. And after you do CASPER, a lot of other grants opportunities open up. The main reason behind this is to give a picture of what the public health said after Hurricane Harvey happened. Hopefully with this funding, these data, we can use it to possibly get funding to looking at reestablishing some form of county hospital district or a hospital system. We were at a deficit before Hurricane Harvey, and we are now at even more of a deficit for individuals, especially that are on Medicaid and Medicare, like getting proper medical treatment within their area. Most of the doctors have relocated to Corpus Christi or retired altogether because of the cost it was to come back or reestablish. It was just cheaper to say goodbye. I know our medical director, Dr. Mobley, had an office here. It was cheaper for him to go back to his office in Portland, and I know that he is still accepting patients and he's taking on other doctors' patients, but I know that he has lost a few patients moving from Aransas Pass to Portland. And one of the reasons why he moved from Portland to begin with to Aransas Pass was to help more individuals. So that's what we're hoping to do. We're looking for volunteers. Love to have volunteers, and also just asking the city to be aware of what's going on that weekend. So we will be blasting information on Facebook and also probably doing some radio advertising so the public will know that this is coming. So it's hopefully no one will have a moment of, oh, why are you on my porch? Individuals are individuals are allowed to say no, and they'll go on to the next house. They don't have to do the survey at all. It's all voluntary. But it's just also to let you know in case that happens. So hopefully you won't get any calls. The police already know. So hopefully, and they know which areas they'll be in. So hopefully we won't have any accidents, because I'd really, really love volunteers to stay and continue on.
How many questions are they going to be asked?
We have approximately about 20 questions.
Okay.
And some of them, it's all multiple choice. They get asked them. They don't have to fill out the paperwork. The volunteer does the paperwork. It'll be in English and Spanish depending on the household. And a lot of it is, if you say no, you skip on to this question. If they say yes, then you go to this question. Is there any other questions that you guys have?
No?
Thank you.
I guess if
Guys, there's our contact information. I think Mary has also
Yeah.
emailed Gary and the secretary a copy of the survey to distribute. Okay. So that's all I have. You guys got any questions?
Question?
would that help with the looking at getting the hospital back into Aransas Pass?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, good, good.
That's one of the goals there. Like she said, we had a deficit before Harvey, we definitely have a deficit now.
Mhm.
The
I know that's one of the main questions we get asked just about
All the time.
every
Yeah,
city
yeah.
council meeting we have just
I get it
about.
all the time too.
Mhm.
And that's something that we're very, with me and Dr. Mobley and other people have brought it up to DSHs and other things, and even CDC, they say, we need the data. And so hopefully Casper will give us that data, and the other, through the Heart Institute surveys will give us that data, so they'll be more inclined to give us a little bit of the cash help, but because hospitals are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
But very much
Cheap.
needed, yeah.
Yes, very much needed.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Copy of the questions if you'd like to look over them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
your-
Thank you. Yeah. All right, next we go to Texas General Land Office Housing Matters. Brenda?
Good afternoon, council. Just to piggyback on a little bit on what they were saying, there has been some issues post-Harvey on developing and helping out with funds from the federal government. The first one that will, Here we go. So we only have two topics that we're gonna look at, and one of them is the general land office, and the other one is RV storage on bypass 35. For the general land office, they've implemented a housing program called Harvey Housing Assistance Program, HAP for short. And they help reconstruct families that qualify for this funds from HUD money. And so it's directly from the federal government through the GLO, and they've only submitted 11 homes that can be built with this money, nothing else. And they only have 7 builders authorized by the GLO that can handle this money and create these homes. These are the builders: DSW Homes, JW Turner Construction, Stonewater Construction, Briso, Core, TKTMJ, and RM Quality Homes. These are the designs that we have. They have given them to us already. We have the plans already on file. The verification process would be if they come in and they say this is a home that's being done with GLO funds, we would contact GrantWorks, which is Donna Johnson. They're the company that are handling all the applications for this funding. So if someone wants to apply for HAP, they go through GrantWorks. She sets up the application and she follows the process. So we can verify with her if they are actually a program through the GLO. So what I was proposing to streamline that process, because we've been getting a lot of homes and they've been, for one, these companies are not very organized. They're not very familiar working with municipalities. They're usually working in the private sector. And so it's pretty much a lot of hand-holding that we have to go through with them to show them what it is that they have to follow through zoning, especially through zoning. They're very good on following building codes, but not through zoning. And so one of the problems that we've seen is if that the lot size, they don't reach the minimum lot size. And so they would have to go through ZBA and not get that approved. Another one would be the setbacks. The home is also too big with the setbacks that we have on our zoning as it is. And so to waive the minimum lot size, which is right now set at 7,000, and the setbacks from 25 in the front and back to 20, and to keep the sides at 6 feet, and the corner lot side setback right now is at 20, and that would bring it down to 10 feet. And then there's one other home design that is their rabbit in the hat. If for whatever reason, the 11 that they already have doesn't fit the lot, and it's a very small lot, and we have had one issue like that already. They were able to go back and ask the GLO if they had at least one more that's the smallest size that they have, and that's what they call the Willow, but that also has to go through approval. We did contact the GLO, and the GLO did state that they do not plan on making any adjustments on these plans whatsoever. So if for whatever reason the house doesn't fit on the lot, and the city does not want to pass a waiver, this family will not get their home.
Okay, is this a home being built or is it a mobile home?
Home being built.
A mobile home?
No, a site-built home.
Oh, okay, all right,
Mm-hmm.
all right. I wanted to make sure on that, okay.
So right now, I'm just to give you all a heads up and to see if this is something that you would want to do. These are just one of the items that we have been talking with, actually, with Katya and some of the other city planners in the area of other cities, of things that we can do during disaster to be able to go through items faster for people, because that would clear up debris faster, that would put people in their homes faster, it would help their financial benefit, and it'll help the city look a lot better. So one of the other things that isn't presented to you right now, because it's still in the planning phases, would be to get together with Rockport, Port A, and Ingleside, and at the time where the governor states or proclaims a state of disaster, and that all these 4 cities would come together and have the same building codes, the same zoning, so that when people come in to help with all these things, it wouldn't be different per city, because every city is different. But you have these people coming in from the federal government saying, okay, you can help all this area, but since everybody's different, if they only work here, well, they kind of get the idea. But if they have one house in Rockport, one house in Aransas Pass, and one house in Ingleside or Port A, then they're all confused because everybody has different rules and ordinances. So Katya later on will probably get with y'all and talk about a lot of these ideas that we're going through to change. But for right now, I wanted to bring this to your attention and see if that's something that you see feasible that we can do for Aransas Pass.
And this would be just for this particular,
It is for Harvey.
for Harvey, okay.
I believe they mentioned that there's about 3 years of work in this area until all the funds are out.
Okay.
Mhm.
So are these homes, they have to be applied for by
Yes.
the individuals? And how would they get that information out? I'm sure there's quite a few people that,
Yes, they go through GrantWorks. GrantWorks handles all of that.
How is the
but
public?
how does the
how's
public
it
know
go-
about this
you know,
program?
As far as I know, they've done workshops before on this program that's available. That was prior to me starting here. They said they had done this before.
Okay.
I was, other than that, I'm not aware of any that
Not
they've
aware-
done.
Not aware of it, but, and so I guess they would build these homes where?
On the person's property.
Oh, okay, if they had the property already.
Right. They have to have the property already. They have to be living in the city already and say, I was here when the hurricane happened, or I moved to, well, I went away when the hurricane, but when I came back to my home was destroyed.
Okay.
And they qualify by, financial assistance, how much they make, and the size of the family.
Okay.
And they go through the program, and then once it gets approved, and then they get a builder assigned to them. And that builder works with them to get their home passed through.
Okay. Sounds good.
And you said about 20 homes, I think you said something that they've allowed for this area? You had a number,
11.
11?
11 designs.
11 designs.
11
Designs.
Okay,
Mhm.
Oh.
okay, okay.
Oh, that's.
But we don't have a number of how many.
No.
No, not yet.
No.
Mm,
There
okay.
is no number because
Right.
as they're coming in, they're just using up the money until it's completely gone, so they don't know exactly how many. Because some homes are larger than others, so some are cheaper to do than others. So
So would they come to the city to apply, or is there a website they go to apply?
they
for
have to
this?
physically go to GrantWorks in Rockport.
Okay.
Oh,
From-
we need lots of information to
Is
get
that the
that
one that's-
out.
Is that the one that's located next to Walmart somewhere?
I believe they said it's the shopping center next to Subway. It's
Which one's that?
across from the county, Aransas County clerk's office. It's like almost right across the street.
Okay, where it used to be the movie theater.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
What's that?
Old Ace.
Yeah.
Mm.
No,
But I can
not
contact
Saturday.
Donna and let her know that y'all would like more information, or maybe do up some public meetings
Yeah, well,
from
I
there.
guess as a city, we need to have information on how to
Yeah.
get it out
Yeah.
to our citizens.
And the reason why I was asking, because I know there's another office there that it was forever to find, that if your home was damaged and you repaired the home, but you didn't have any insurance or, at all, that you could qualify and have some of your funds reimbursed by GLO.
Mhm.
And that, we had the hardest time locating that office where it's at. So that's why I don't want people to be discouraged,
Right.
because it took us, and I'm familiar with Rockport, but nobody in Rockport could direct me where to go.
Right.
They would tell me, it's over here, it's over here. So I just want to make sure that if we get the information out, when we get it out, I hope we do, that we're really precise where it is, because it took me about an hour to 2 hours to find the location
Okay.
in Rockport. It was.
Brenda, if we could set up a meeting with Grant Works,
Okay.
if they could come here and we can, if they could contact me, then we'll decide who will be in on that meeting then.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
And then all the sign
Oh, they
involved,
said, and they said, oh, this road was, that was the name of it 25 years ago. Okay.
thanks. What is it now?
All right.
So we'll get that
Okay.
started
thanks.
with y'all. The next one is an RV storage. They just came to us maybe a week ago, and they were advised that there was an ordinance that would about possible change with warehouse and covered storage. So they were aware that we were almost in transition. It may have been changed, which it did. You approved changing warehouse and covered storage, not allowed on general business or entryways into the city. And so they wanted to come in and just ask to see if it was something that you would even consider approving, since it has to go through you as well. The blue square is Public Works, so just north of us, north of Myrtle and south of Guile is the yellow square, and that's where they would be located. They sent us some pictures of what it is that they wanted to do. This is some other people's property, but he says it'll be pretty much identical to this. So they would have open storage and covered storage. And they want to target upper tier clientele seeking safe, secure, affordable, long-term parking storage. And they also want to offer a service that if they're coming in from Canada or Michigan and they call up and they say, well, I'm going to be staying at the
Southern Oaks.
RV Resort, they will actually contact Southern Oaks, let them know that they're coming and drive their RV over to that area so that their clients only go directly to the park and are ready to go and already set up. Here are some pictures of their covered storage,
Mm-hmm. There's Guile.
the cement work that they plan on doing. Some more of the open storage.
Yeah, it's past Public Works.
Yes.
On the bypass, before Guile. So how big an area are they looking at?
If you look up, it's about 480 square feet by 421 square feet.
Huh?
196 total spaces.
And again, what are they asking of the council this evening?
They want to know if you would be willing to approve something like this, even if you already passed an ordinance saying that you wouldn't allow this on the bypass.
I have a question. Is that possible, the ones that have the Southern Oaks, weren't they looking at getting some storage, building on their property also?
Yes, they were thinking of doing that towards the back part of the property where you wouldn't see it off the frontage.
Right. Theirs was back where you couldn't see
Yeah,
it.
I was just
though.
kind of wondering if.
Yeah.
Now, they did mention that if that was your wish to have the same thing, to do some land in the front for retail and push their property to the back, they were also willing to look at that as well if this project would go through. But they just want to make sure that before they start the rezoning process and all the paperwork for planning, that it would be something that you would be willing to do, to approve, since it has to go through city council for your approval.
Can you go back
course
to
they-
where it's located?
Yes.
The previous.
Of course, they can't say they're going to approve it right now.
Correct.
Or just
Yeah.
take it into consideration.
Correct.
Okay.
It's the yellow property,
Uh-huh.
and they're right smack in the middle of both counties. Half of it goes to Aransas County and half of it goes to St. Pat County.
That ought to make it interesting.
Huh. Nice.
So that's really actually on the bypass, right?
Yes.
I'm just trying to get a picture of it.
That on the bypass, I think that's really what we were worried about.
I think-
Not really.
I was
I
more worried
was,
about commercial and Wheeler
yeah, that's more where I was concerned
Right.
about as well.
or entry corridors. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not worried about one out here.
I'm just kind of thinking about also the speed of the traffic if it's located right on the bypass, right? I'm trying to figure out this.
There's still an access road on the side there.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
can get to it off the frontage
I was
road.
gonna say, that's not a very big road.
road. The bypass is big.
No, but getting into this particular property,
Brenda, where were those apartments going that did not go through because the owner was not able to purchase the property? How close to the yellow spot? It was right next to it.
Further,
It's further down,
Further-
right around here.
further north. yeah.
It was by Myrtle. It was-
it
Myrtle,
was
because
by-
those are, what you see here is what they have right now, and it was north of that.
It was at the
So-
north end of that.
Right, it was on, what is that, Resendez Road,
Right. That's exactly what I was gonna say, Resendez Road.
so it was farther up here.
I'm talking about the apartment, I'm not talking about the apartments that recently came into the city. I'm talking about before you got here. There was an apartment complex going about where the yellow is right now.
Okay.
And you may not be familiar with that.
Yes, no, I'm not
Okay,
familiar with
okay,
those at
that's
all.
fine.
Mhm.
Oh,
Nothing
we're,
on this
okay,
side.
I know what you're talking about, I thought you were talking about the one, okay.
With Southern Oaks, that's the
I'm
one.
not
I-
talking
You're
about
right,
Southern
there
Oaks, no.
was, and there was something to do, yeah.
They weren't able to work out an agreement with the owner, and the reason I'm bringing it
Right.
up is I'm wondering if another complex would be interested in that spot. I have no idea.
Mhm.
But,
Do these people own this property already, or are they looking to
No.
buy it?
They're looking to buy it.
Oh, okay.
They're asking for more time on their due diligence so that they don't lose the loan, but they wanted to make two, they wanted to
Same
come
thing
in.
that happened with that other apartment that was coming in, right? They were asking for,
yeah, but it
But
came
the
down
issue
to
was
the
with some of
owner.
the property owners, or
They weren't
the
able to work
property
out a
owner.
deal with the owner, is what it
Yeah.
came down to.
That's what it
they were
was.
also extending it a little to try to work
Right.
something out with them, something.
Mhm.
I would have to really think about this, I don't know.
I don't have an issue with it,
Okay. Thank you very much. That's what I need.
but we're not deciding anything,
Yeah.
so.
No.
You can't, right.
Yeah.
Making
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Decisions tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, here comes a fun one. All right.
Fun.
City logo layout for the water
Oh,
tower.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember those.
They were horrible.
They're horrible?
The ones we got, oh, yes.
Well, if those are the only choices we
Yeah,
have,
We need to go back to the drawing board.
what's wrong with this one? How come we don't have this one as a choice?
I want to wear the body every day. That's our billboard. That's what we need.
Yeah, why wasn't that a choice?
I like number 2.
Well, I have to see them again.
At number 1, the bird is too big. It overpowers it all.
The reason these are here is just, this is what, and a firm came up with this. The reason these are here is to give you an idea of what the firm that Landmark has hired, and I think LNV was involved with this firm also, to at least get a starting point. Now, there is some time issues we have to be concerned about because they need to have that on the tower before it goes up. But wanted to get the discussion started at least on what you would like to see on there. My guess is, and I was talking with one of you earlier, that you're not gonna like any of these. That's my guess.
You're right.
But tell us what you, if you don't, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you do like it. But if you don't like it, give us some direction so I can go back to them and say, here is what the council had in mind. And that'll give them another starting point. They can quickly get something else to bring back to you, and maybe as soon as Monday or Tuesday for the regular council meeting. Maybe we can bring something back to you. I don't want to make that promise for them, but want to get it to you very, very quickly. So at least, this is at least a starting point. As far as the discussion goes, tell me if you like any of these, and if you do, we can go further. If you don't, tell me what you would like to see.
Not
Okay.
number 2.
I like number 2.
Oh, you like number 2?
I like it
I like
better than
number
the other
3.
ones.
I don't like any of them.
I don't,
And I think,
What, again, what's wrong with this one?
no.
That
Behind
is
us.
going to be hard, I was
It's
told.
Too much.
too busy.
Thank you.
Well, what
Yes.
I'm thinking, that is our number one billboard to sell this town.
It will be.
And what do
Well-
our biggest thing to sell is fishing.
Redfish. A skiff with somebody on
Or
there
like the-
catching a
like
redfish,
Or like a
jumping up in the
redfish-
air.
Or like a tail, like a tail, and where they
We can
ride
do
every
that.
day,
Or a
the logo.
redfish tail.
Yeah, something like that.
We can do that. And it can be,
Incorporate, like Redfish Bay, because that's what brings us, brings us our livelihoods.
Mhm.
And, for decades, you could coming into town, within 100 miles of here, there were signs, you could see Aransas Pass where they bite every day. And that, people
Yeah.
relate that saying to
Right.
Aransas Pass.
what do you folks think of that?
Oh, I
That
agree with the
phrase
slogan.
and the redfish?
Something with a redfish,
And a
maybe
picture of
somebody
Billy.
on a polling skiff, or,
You can't get it too busy, that's the only thing. because-
yeah.
Yeah.
But no, you could, you could be outlined like that, like the pelican.
Like the redfish tail,
Or
like the
a-
tail and the dot.
I don't know. I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible,
Or something with a trout
If it's a
and a redfish.
redfish and one saying, a artistic redfish,
Mm-hmm.
then that maybe, we could probably keep that simple. If we go
Yeah.
beyond that, whatever phrase and a redfish, an artistic redfish, then that's something they could work with if you are leaning that way. I'm trying to read you. And I see Vicky shaking her
I do
head.
like the slogan where they buy it every day instead of the Harbor City.
Yeah, and,
We've never been known as the Harbor City.
Would they think that our citizens bite every day?
Some of them do.
tell you what, you piss
Like
them
he's
off,
not
they'll tell
listening.
you to bite 'em.
He's looking at the TV. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Jason.
If that's your leaning, that'll at least take us another direction, and if I'm at least seeing two of you say that's something to look at, I can bring that back to you, they can bring it back to you, and see what you think of that. If not, then
Well, I
maybe
can
that'll lead
bring-
us in a direction that,
Can I bring something similar to like what I'm talking about to you, and then the rest of
I
them come up?
wish any of you would.
Okay.
That would be very helpful.
All right, because that would be cool with the redfish tail, sunset, whatever. We got that covered. I can
Is
get you
it
some-
copyrighted?
Dean will charge you several $1 million for it.
Oh, okay, I see, okay. Let me,
You just have to make sure and keep
Hey,
it
don't
simple.
worry, I
You
got
don't want it to
ways-
be
I
too
got
busy.
ways
No,
to
I
get
agree.
to
That's-
'em.
I don't
Yeah.
like it busy.
What-
And it sounds like it is.
what Vicky is saying is so critical, because they're gonna have 2 to 3 seconds to look at it.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
message has gotta get
Right.
through in 2 to 3 seconds.
Mhm.
So.
I don't know, they might get stuck at the train.
Oh, gee.
There you go, the advantage of having a train.
Yeah. That gets me started. So I will, and bring whatever in, that you would like to bring in. I need it quickly.
Okay,
By tomorrow would be good.
yeah,
Okay, good. All right.
absolutely.
Okay, very good.
I do like the font on number 3.
On number 3,
Yeah, I like the font.
Is that, are you cussing?
No, the font.
okay,
Pardon me.
very good.
Okay, okay, we're done with this one now? Okay, where are we going now?
Next one,
Okay, city council appointed positions, city manager, city attorney, municipal court judge, and city secretary.
and I'm wondering, council members, if we shouldn't wait, I hate saying this because we put this off a while, if we shouldn't wait until all the council members are here, because what is being suggested here is a liaison between the appointed positions. For example, that's my position, that's a city secretary, the city attorney, city judge, and the full council. A subcommittee who can bring back to the council, instead of you at evaluation time, and we are all evaluated, all of those positions I just mentioned, instead of starting cold. I know you deal with many of those positions, but some of them maybe not so often. And a subcommittee can bring back to the full council their opinion after having meetings with the appointed positions. Those are your positions. They're not under the city manager, they are under you. And are those, what kind of work have they been doing throughout the year? And having a subcommittee look at that more closely. I'm not talking about the day-to-day operation and overseeing that. I'm talking about just getting a feel for the quality of the work and the work that they're doing. Are they being responsive to council, to citizens, et cetera? And have a subcommittee report back to the council when it's time for evaluation or some other time. I'm sorry?
Who would be on this committee?
You. One of you folks. And the subcommittee, it couldn't be a quorum, so it's going to be a couple of council members, 2 council members who would be a subcommittee. So that's a suggestion to see what you think about it.
So we would be the subcommittee?
You have to be, yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about other people within the city, and I'm thinking, well, then
No,
their
no, no,
peers
no,
would
no.
be evaluating.
They are
their
under
payroll.
you, so it
Okay.
would be 2 of you.
Gary in the committee.
Yeah, right. Gary would get a good grade.
That'd be the first time.
Evaluating himself.
That's right.
I don't know, I've got to talk to you about that, okay?
Uh-oh. Oh, dear.
Oops.
So is that
Okay,
something
yes.
you're interested
I think
in?
that would be good, yes.
Okay, yes.
Good
idea. Because like
Billy
you
and Vicky said they'd love to do that.
I think
Okay,
that's-
then we will, Mary, then we will bring that back in a
No,
more
I
formal
think
style.
Jan and Ram
to the
should be
council.
the ones
Oh,
doing it
absolutely, since they're not here.
To defend themselves, I think it's.
Yes, because every time I'm not here, I get to do something
Yeah, so I
silly.
think Jan and Ram, they'd be dandy,
Well,
they'd be
aren't you
dandy
looking
for
at being
it.
gone a while? We could wait until then.
No, no.
Okay, that's all
Okay.
we have on that item.
Okay. All right, now we go to the council liaison policy for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Another idea, and I have seen this done in other cities, and just want to get your input on it, and that is virtually, almost, every city I've been involved with, there's been a council member on the Planning and Zoning Commission, a critically important commission for the city. Sometimes they've been voting members, sometimes they've been liaison, non-voting members. But a sitting member up there during the council meetings to report back to the council when necessary or when issues come up that may warrant discussion, then what does that council member think of the discussion that went on and their opinion of what went on? Right now, you get the information cold. You get it from
That's a great
staff,
idea.
yes, and you get a good presentation from staff, but you may want to, if you agree, hear from your own on impressions from that Planning and Zoning Commission. That is one of the, and some people would argue, the most important commission for the city,
Yeah.
after the council. So is that something you're interested in pursuing? We would have to look into the legality of it. We have to a certain extent, but there would be a formal process to change the ordinance so that it would allow that. And we're not dealing with a charter issue, is it? Okay.
You wanted to do a non-voting member, is that correct?
That is, I prefer to do a voting, but I think in this particular case, because of the charter and all of that, I think it makes more sense to be non-voting,
It'd
yes.
be a conflict, like you voting on 2 boards or two bodies. I don't think you
It
can vote on 2
happens,
bodies.
but it's a good point. So is that something you're interested in?
Yes.
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 We will pursue that also then, Mary. Okay?
Okay, next, update on HB 2840 Open Meetings Act.
Well, we wanted to give you an update on House Bill 2840. It passed by the legislature this past summer. The bill applies to local governments. And what it says is that governmental bodies shall allow now each member of the public to speak on each item on the agenda. Now, you can do that before you vote on the item, or you can do it during consideration of the item. It's up to the council. And what it also does, it also allows governmental bodies to set rules, like such as setting a time limit. You know, you could set the same time limit as you do for citizen comments. Now, citizen comments are for those items that are not on the agenda. And of course, this new bill is for items that are on the agenda. Now, it's our understanding that this bill applies to items where action is taken, like at special meetings and regular meetings, not workshops. Workshops, usually when you have items on, just like today, you have items on the workshop agenda, and those items are usually pushed through to a regular meeting where action is taken, and at that time, the citizens will be able to comment. That bill goes into effect September 1st. But we did want to give you a heads up on it, and I'm sure we'll be talking more about it at the next meeting on September 3rd.
Okay.
But we, wanted to give you a heads up on that bill.
Alrighty.
Would we have to set like the guidelines as far as the time limit? Are we gonna allow 3 minutes just like we do with the public comments? Or are we gonna set, they speak before or during the discussion or before we vote? Do we
Well,
need to come up
it's
with
gonna
those
be up to
guidelines?
the council. We'll probably put it on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay.
Now, staff can make a suggestion, and that is that you ask for comments before the item. That way, council can consider the citizens' comments during discussion of the item. But again, that's gonna be entirely up to the council.
Okay, but we wanna set that, okay.
Okay. All right.
Very good.
Next.
That's it.
Oh,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.